Flying scale airplanes can be different things to different people. Sports scale, which most of us do, all the way up to a Top Gun competition, which is a very high level of flying and scale detailing. But for most of us, we like to fly sport airplanes that look like the real thing. And to get that information, to make it accurate and correct, you need to find some resources that has the photographs of the airplane and so on and so forth. Bob's Aircraft Documentation is a book, has just about every airplane you can think of, drawings, 3 views available. It's a great resource. In fact, the F-86 that's on display in the AMA Museum here, it's a beautiful example that Terry Nitsch built a few years back. And he probably used a book such as this for his documentation to support when he presents his information to the judges for them to judge the airplane at. As the Internet's a great resource for information. You can hit Google as one. There are places on the Internet you can enter an N number and you'll find where that airplane exists. You can even go there and find that particular airplane. They have chat rooms, there's forums. Get involved. Do a search, you'll find a scale forum, and you get in there and just pose the question, hey, I'm building a XYZ airplane. Anybody have some information on this airplane? You'd be surprised at the support you get from your fellow modeler. Sometimes you may find an airplane in your neck of the woods. Let's say you're building a Piper Cub and somebody owns a Cub. Well, you will make it look like that particular Cub at your local airport. Another great resource for documentation is your local museum, or when you're traveling, visit a museum. There's museums scattered all over the country. They have it's a great resource to find, to take pictures of the actual airplane. In the scoring, typically 50% of the scoring is flying, and the other 50% is the scale side, the outline, accuracy, so on and so forth. Very important. So if you're going to compete, you need all this information to back your case up. In scale competition, you basically have 3 categories that the judges are going to look at. One is the outline, the other is color markings, and the third is craftsmanship. For the outline, you're going to have to prove your model is accurate from 3 views, the side, the top, the front. And the judges will probably will be looking at your airplane from about 15 feet. So you'll need a good drawing, official drawing that's approved for these 3 views. Photographs and sometimes a plastic model is acceptable. So consequently, it's always a big challenge to find the material that matches your particular model. The best scenario of all is to have the full-size airplane accessible so you can photograph and measure the exact airplane. Next is color markings. You'll need proof of color and the actual markings. Now, photographs work pretty good for the markings, but for the color, because the photographic process is not perfect, there can be some variation. Sometimes you can buy the chips. There are people that supply the paint chips to give you the exact match. Sometimes you can find out from the guy that built the airplane, or the manufacturer, or even the guy who restored the airplane, find out the exact paint he used, and many times the people that make the paint will give you a little sample, and you can use that as your reference. The last is craftsmanship. This is pretty self-explanatory. The judging is done at 0 distance. The judge can walk right up to the airplane and take a real close look at it, and he'll be looking for things like how well the control surfaces fit, how well did you hide the control horns, and stuff like that. If you have small details of the airplane, again, having good pictures of the actual airplane help a lot in supporting your case on how that wheel pant looked or that instrument looked. In some competitions, realism is not such a big issue, but in events like Top Gun, it's a top issue. So some modelers have become particularly good at making the airplane look like it's used. Wear and tear on the airplane, missing rivets, that type of thing, really enhance to making that airplane look like a real airplane from a distance. Let's say you're new at this game and you're looking for a subject and you want to build a nice scale model. Do yourself a favor, don't give yourself a project that you know is going to be difficult to fly and very complicated. In fact, you can be very competitive with a Super Cub. We won and beat jets with a Super Cub twice in Top Gun. And that airplane we know flies well, and so the flying was not very difficult, and we just added detail to make it competitive. So in a good contest with good judging, a Super Cub can in fact beat a jet. So the advice here is that if you're new to scale and you want to start with an airplane, choose something that has a relatively light wing loading, not too many complicated moving parts,